In this demonstration, I want to create a report that shows me my sales, my margins, my costs, as well as a calculation that takes the margins as a percentage of costs against my key customers and key product categories and the date as well. So let's start by creating a new report, and this new report will connect to the Cube, which was created by Cube Express earlier. So let's click on Connect, and in my new report, I'll be able to select my data points. So my data points are in yellow under Measures, and the blue color arrows here are the dimensions, which are the business attributes that relate to these data points. So let's pick up the data points, and under Measures, I want to look into Sales Invoice, and under Sales Invoice, there's quite a lot of data points. I'll pick up the sales amount in the columns, the gross margins, and lastly the line costs. So I've got 3 pieces of data. Now, other than looking at the data in a tabular form, I want to look at it in a chart form as well. So I just click on the chart button. Now, against these 3 data, I want to look at it by key customers. So let's open Customer, open up the Customer field, and add that to my report. So now my 3 data pieces are linked to Customer, as you can see here, and there's one customer that's shown as unknown. So I just right click, and I don't want to have this unknown value, so I'm going to click on Remove. Now, other than this, I want to look at it by item. So let's open the item dimension, and there's the item category, which I'll add on not to the report but into the slicer at the top, so that the users will be able to select which item category they want to see the data for. So I've got it for automotive here, and I can select other data categories as well, like home and garden, or maybe do-it-yourself products. Okay. Now, against this data, the next thing I want to do is to show it by dates. So if I open up the date, there are 2 hierarchies, one for calendar and one for fiscal. Now what I want is to pick up the calendar month and add that to my slicer. So now I've got data only for the do-it-yourself category, which has only 1 customer, and the calendar month of July. So now I want to see multiple categories and which are the customers that we've pushed these products to. So let me right click on item category, change the slicer type into a drop-down checkbox. So against the drop-down checkbox, I'll be able to select multiple item categories. For example, I want to see automotive, do-it-yourself, and home and garden. So all 3 categories. Now against the month, I want to select January to July. So let's do a right click, slicer type, and select a date range. Now with that, I'll be able to select that I want data from January 2010 all the way to July of 2010, and the data will reflect accordingly. Now, other than this, I wanted to have a column that calculates gross margin as a percentage of sales. So let's do that. If I do a mouse over, I'll be able to create a formula here. And a formula in ZAP is very similar to Excel, where I say GM% is the name of the column, and I'll just drag down gross margin, and as I mouse over, a calculation pad appears where I can click on divide, and it divides against the sales amounts. Okay, it's very similar to Excel, whereby in Excel you'll say cell C1 equals to cell B1 divided by cell A1. Once ready, apply, and there will be a formula at the bottom here. Now I want to make this into a percentage, so I'll just highlight on that column, go to the formatting, and change it into a percentage. Now all of this is done on the browser, so that everything I save later would be saved as a web-based template. So with this new column here, unfortunately it doesn't appear in the chart because the value is too small compared to all the other values in there. So what I'll do is I'll highlight onto the gross margin percent, and under the design menu, I'll be able to say put this data piece against a new axis. So as you can see, when that happens, there are now 2 axes. One axis for the first 3 pieces of data, and a secondary axis for my percentage. And pretty easily I can just drag on so that it looks a little bit bigger, and this percentage I can highlight it and change it into a line graph. so that I can see it a lot clearer within the report, and also to show the labels as well. So very quickly, I've created a report, and what I want to do next is just to quickly add in a comment. So I'll look at able painters and I realize there's an amount of 8,000. What I'll do is right click on it and have a little annotation for my manager that says, "Dear manager, please check if the number here is correct." Okay. So what happens here is I can add in a little formula, and thereafter I would save this report, and I'll name it one of my web folders so that other users who have the rights will be able to access this report, and I'll call this sales report and say OK. Now thereafter, once this is done, I can either export it out into Excel, I can do a print, or directly from within ZAP email this report to my other managers.